what you are looking at on screen at this very moment is the story of my week in art. I didn't do shit. I mean, I was thinking about it. You recall last week I was talking about how I didn't do shit. I need to do shit. And I once again didn't do shit. Did not do a goddamn thing all week. I was busy working. I was just telling somebody earlier today, I said the way you can tell you're an artist is that when you don't make art, you feel compelled to make excuses. You have to tell people why. Hey, this is why I didn't make any art this week. Most people didn't make any art this week. The overwhelming majority of humanity did not make any art this week, and they do not feel like they need to explain themselves. But you can tell you're an artist when you're like, no, I have to justify why I didn't make any art. I didn't art this week because of reasons. Well, yeah, that's how you can tell you're an artist, because you simply can't comprehend that making no art is normal. It's what most people do. Most people did not make art this week, and they do not feel the need to explain themselves because that's normal. That's what a week looks like for them, is they don't make art. I didn't make art this week because that's what I do every week. Don't make art. Meanwhile, I feel compelled to go, I had to pressure wash the patio and move a bunch of stuff around all over the place. And my dad just had shoulder surgery, so he can't lift anything that weighs more than 5 pounds, which makes him functionally useless for doing anything. And that means that at this juncture, and he's going to be in recovery for 6 to 12 months. He's not going to be back to full capacity for a good long time, which means it is all me out there. The whole 10.5 acres. It's all me. And that's a lot of fucking work. And usually we have 2.5 people doing this because my dad does a bunch of work and my mom does a bunch of work. But instead, it is just me. There is only me. And that's a lot of fucking work. And that doesn't give me a whole lot of time. And doing physical labor impacts your ability to do mental labor and creative labor. You can't easily do creative work when you've been out there exhausting yourself. And fundamentally, that's for like exactly the same reasons you would expect, which is that you use up your muscle glycogen, and it has to be replenished. And normally, the food that you eat and the energy you get from eating that food would be used to run your brain. But when you have to replenish muscle glycogen, well, you don't have that energy available to run your brain. And because you don't have the energy available to run your brain doesn't run effectively, and you do dumb shit, or you just don't do much of anything. So I spent all week long basically not being able to think properly and not really being able to handle much in the way of see, my brain still doesn't work properly after the 9 hours I spent yesterday. It wasn't 9. It's going to be 9 tomorrow. It was 6 hours yesterday that I was pressure washing the damn patio. Oh, but there was also a couple hours we had to go get gas. And that was a production. Not being allowed to lift more than 5 pounds is a serious handicap because a gallon of milk is 8 pounds. Yeah, he can't do shit. It's like, my mother had this bright idea. She was like, I know, I'll put the milk into a pitcher so he doesn't have to lift the gallon of milk. And she put it into a pitcher that weighs 3 pounds. And it's like, you can only put a quart of milk in there. and then it's too much for him to lift. It's so goddamn comical because it's like she tries to help. She's honestly trying to help, but she doesn't understand the knock-on effects of the decisions she makes. She goes, he can't lift an entire gallon of milk, so I'll put some of the milk into a pitcher. And I want it to be a nice pitcher. I want it to be a pretty pitcher. So let's get the nice crystal pitcher out. What is wrong with you? So she gets out the nice crystal pitcher. You can't even fill it halfway. Because then it would weigh too much. And on top of that, my dad doesn't use a lot of milk, so she's worried. She's worried about this. She's like, oh, a gallon of milk is 8 pounds. He can't pick up a gallon of milk. I better give him a way to pick up the milk. And it's like, when has he ever needed to pick up the milk? The only time he picks up the milk is when he's bringing it in from the car after she goes grocery shopping. And she's like, oh my God, I need to put it into a pitcher. Oh God, you have to laugh or you'd cry. That's just the way it is. What can you do? I live with idiots. Yeah. So I have spent all week not being able to think effectively, and not being able to think effectively, it naturally means that I have gotten nowhere on that question of the fundamental question of why I'm unhappy with my art at the moment, why it's just not doing it for me. And I've been thinking that part of the problem is I have not spent enough time doing studies because there's all kinds of, ooh, that's not right. There's all kinds of stuff that you could be doing studies on. Like you could do studies on color and light. You can do studies on value. You could do studies on life drawing. You could do studies on all kinds of like little things. And what's valuable about studies is they allow you to concentrate on something. Like And what I've been trying to focus on, I've been trying to focus on producing finished pieces. Because finished pieces are like, I mean, that's what you can post to show people and go, look at the work that I have done. Isn't the work I have done cool? And that's what gets you your audience. But it's frustrating because I'm not there yet. It's been, it's 2.5 years at this point. And we're on episode 25 of the 3rd season. It's been 2.5 years of making various art and posting it online and, well, posting it online when I have something to post, which I typically don't. And I'm not at the point where building the audience is what I need to do. And there was a guy, I don't remember his name. Talked about him in the Discord. I'm going to go look it up. Dries Cattels, I think is how you pronounce it. I don't know for sure how to pronounce it. But he did a video on starting an art business, and he goes over the same basic steps that I do in the beginning of the Badass Manifesto, where we have the bucket brain, and we have the beetle brain, the bucket, the beetle, the lizard. It was a crappy lizard. And then there's the dog, which is where you actually like is where you actually produce a product to sell. The bucket, the lizard, the beetle, the dog, and then you got the monkey. I'm not going to try to draw a monkey. And you got the man, and then you got the chief. I'm not going to try to draw these because they are difficult to draw. But it's this part that I want to kind of focus on in this discussion. Now, to kind of give a basic description of what we're talking about here, the bucket brain is where you're figuring out what you're doing and learning how to do it. The beetle brain is where you are producing your critical mass of work. The lizard brain is building your audience. The dog brain is actually selling shit to your audience. Then you get into the monkey brain, and the monkey stage of the process is where you build a community. And then you go to the man brain, which is where you're acting as a consultant to other professionals in your industry. And then the chief brain is where you're teaching people who are not in your industry how to get into your industry. So really kind of this stuff right here, this is what I'm concentrating on right now. Now, to kind of clarify, acting as a consultant to professionals in your industry would be like giving critique to other artists. Now, in the dog brain section right here, this is where I would be taking commissions and selling art pieces and that kind of stuff. But in the man brain section, that's where I'd be critiquing other people's art and saying, this is what you need to do to fix your art. And in the chief brain, that would be like doing the Mark Burnett thing where I'm actually teaching people how to make art from scratch. So these two things right here, these are a goal. These are where I'd like to be sitting, but I'm not going to be sitting there for a good long while. And essentially, this first stage that goes up to the monkey stage, I have all of the pieces in place for this. Okay, I have an infrastructure in place where I can sell commissions, where I can sell pieces of art. I just don't have any art to sell, and I don't have an audience to sell it to. That's your beetle brain and your lizard brain that fit together there. And I'm still kind of going back and forth between the bucket and the beetle. And the reason I'm going back and forth between the bucket and the beetle is because you don't really know what needs to go into your bucket until you're in the beetle phase and you're actually producing stuff. So I'm not doing value studies, and I'm not doing color studies, and I'm not doing pose studies, and I'm not doing light studies. I'm not doing these different studies because I'm an arrogant piece of shit, and I don't think I need to do them. I would rather not do them. I would rather do everything at once. I would rather do a finished piece and not focus in on one little thing. But it's focusing in on that one thing that gets you to make progress. And it's that focus that I'm lacking. And I keep like... I keep trying to make finished pieces. But those finished pieces are... I'm not making significant progress on them. And I hit these blocking moments where I can't figure out what it is that I'm doing wrong, and I don't know what exactly it is that I am supposed to be doing with that moment. And I get to a point in doing a piece where I hit a wall, and getting through that wall is really, really difficult because it needs me to know 4 things that I don't know. And I haven't put those 4 things into my bucket. I haven't filled the bucket with those things. I haven't done the value studies. I haven't done the color studies. I haven't done the pose studies and the lighting studies. It's like when you go back to the picture I'm working on with Chio on the lamppost over here. Okay, if I, oh wow. Yeah, let's come up here and, where is it? Man. There it is, right there. We go back to the picture of Chio on the lamppost, okay? There are a bunch of things that I need to do on this that I don't know how to do. Like, I don't know how to draw all the ruffles and lace, and I've been working on that, and I've been making progress on it. But on top of that, she's standing on top of a lamppost, and the lamppost is obviously going to be on because it's the middle of the night. You got the moon up there. I'm going to have to draw the shadows on the moon. I've never done that. I don't know if I'm going to do a good job. But I'm going to have to draw the shadows on the moon, and it's late at night, and there's going to be light coming up for the lamppost, and she's going to be dramatically lit from underneath. I don't really know how to do that, and I'm not sure I'm going to do a good job of that. So what I've got here is I've got all these ruffles and lace, and I've been focusing on trying to draw this ornate dress and trying to get that design correct. But I also have this fundamentally weird dynamic pose where she's standing on top of a lamppost. And I've been focusing a lot on the dress because the dress is it's a fairly easy part of that, except of course for the part where there's drapery and wrinkles, and I'm not good at that stuff. And then there's all of the ruffles, and there's all of the lace, and there's the design, and there's all of this stuff around that. And then there's the lamppost, and there's this kind of perspective where you're looking up at her, and all of that is stuff that I'm not good at and that I don't really know how to do. And I'm trying to solve all of that all at once to produce this piece, and it's too much, and it's taking forever. And I think a lot of the stuff that I want to work on, a lot of the pieces that I'm trying to do are things that I just don't have the skill to accomplish right now. And I even scaled this back. I used to be planning to do this with like a school and a playground in the background. But I had to scale it back and just go, okay, we want to focus primarily on the character and just have a little bit of additional background. But I've still bitten off a lot more than I can comfortably chew on this piece. And just like if you go back to this other piece that I did, this other thing I was working on. I was working on this picture of Usada Pecora jumping out of a window at you, and that never got finished because that is over and above the skills that I have to work on this. And that is precisely the kind of thing that I need to start really thinking about. Namely, that I'm taking on projects that are just way more than I can chew. I can't easily finish these pieces that I'm working on. So I need to do things that I can finish, but at the same time, I don't want to do boring crap. and it's very frustrating when you want to do stuff, but you don't know how to do the stuff. That's a very frustrating situation. It's very difficult to deal with, and that frustration can get to you. That frustration can really kind of get into your head and make you think that you shouldn't be doing this, and that you're too stupid and you're too dumb and you're just not good enough to do this stuff. That's not a productive way to think about this. And I'm not thinking along those lines because I have many years of experience doing shit that I'm not good at and learning how to do it. This is just the latest thing that I don't know how to do, and I've had to go in and try to learn it. So I understand that learning anything is going to be hard, and that getting to the point where I can actually do a good job is going to be difficult. And that's not really an issue for me. What is an issue for me is that the reason you get those ideas, the reason that you think, maybe I shouldn't be doing this, maybe I need to give up. The impetus for those things still exists. I don't know why I'm coughing so much. It's very frustrating and annoying. I keep taking sips of coffee because it feels like there's something stuck in my throat, but it doesn't seem to be helping. Anyway. I still have all of that frustration. I don't get to the I should quit point, or why do I even do this point. I just consistently go to this I'm having the problem again point, where I'm trying to get something done, but I can't get the thing done because I don't know how to do it. And I've got a lot of things that I don't know how to do. And one of the things that I need to work on poses. Is that I don't understand what it means. People say that their poses feel stiff. I never feel like poses are stiff. I feel like poses look wrong. I feel like poses don't look natural. But when people say stiff, I don't really know what stiff means. I don't really know what it's like. On American Idol, they used to say things were pitchy. Nobody knows what pitchy means. I think it just means the pitch was off, but my ear's not good enough to hear that, so I don't know. And it's the same thing with poses being stiff. I don't know if my poses are stiff. I can't figure out what it is that makes poses stiff. And then there's like flipping the canvas. People say flip the canvas to see things just like jump out at you. And I flip the canvas and I'm like, okay. I don't. It looks fine. Like either way, like when I flip the canvas, it looks wrong because I don't want her facing this direction. It doesn't look like the pose is different at all. I mean, it looks fine. I don't see any real difference. And I don't know, maybe everybody else can, and I'm just an idiot, and I don't know what I'm supposed to be looking for, or what that looks like, or what it means. And that's fine. Feeling like an idiot when you don't know what you're doing is, it's normal. It's natural. when you're pushing and you're stretching and you're trying to improve your abilities, you're going to be doing things that you don't know what you're doing. And because you don't know what you're doing, you can't always see what you're doing wrong. That's just the way it works. You can't see when something's wrong unless you know what right looks like, you know? And it's one of the problems we run into with machine art. It's not AI. The thing that we run into with machine art a lot of the time is people will make a piece of art with the machine and they'll go, look at my great piece of art. And it's a piece of garbage because they don't know what it was supposed to look like. You know, they made a thing. They can't compare it to the image in their head and go, yes, that's what I wanted to make. They didn't have an image in their head. They didn't have a concept in their head. So all they have is just like what they got. They go, make me a thing. Oh, that's the thing I described. Yeah. But they don't know what that thing looks like. If they did, they could just make the art themselves. And it's frustrating, I know, when you're trying to make a thing. I can go and type some stuff into Stable Diffusion and use the Comfy UI additions and mods and plugins and all of that shit to improve the picture until I was happy with it. And then just go in and say, okay, let's fix this problem and fix that problem and do some manual editing. I could do that. But it would be recognizably a machine artwork. And I don't want a machine artwork. I don't want it to look like machine art. I don't want it to feel like machine art. There's a plasticness to it that I dislike. Just like when you see the old CG work on Hollywood movies, back when CG was still new and CGI effects were just like the big thing, and everything always looked too shiny. It looked like it was wet. Which sometimes is what you want, but it was wet in a particular way that things are very rarely actually wet. And the first thing that I ever saw really leverage this properly was BioShock. Because Rapture is underwater. Everything's supposed to be wet. That's the natural state of stuff. It's wet. It's wet in a very unnatural way for the surface of the earth, but for under the sea, yeah, things would be wet like that. That's the way things would be wet. So it worked, and it worked really well, and that was a great way to leverage that and make the graphics look better than they were based on the technology at the time, because things always look too wet. Well, let's just put everything someplace where it's supposed to be wet. What a fantastic idea. But you can only do so many things like that, you know? And then it starts to be, oh, they're doing that so they can use the computer graphics. And I don't know if you've noticed, but like machine art, when you ask it for a picture of somebody, they generate a selfie. They generate something that looks like a selfie, like somebody took a selfie for Instagram, because that's primarily what it's trained on, is all of these pictures on Instagram and all of these selfies on social media and all of this stuff. And it keeps regressing to that. Whenever you say, you know, show me a picture of a person like this, they show you something that looks like an Instagram post. And Instagram posts don't look natural. They've never looked natural. We see them a lot. They're a thing we're accustomed to. But they don't look candid. They don't look natural. They don't look like... They're not people doing things that people normally do. Everything the machine does looks staged. It looks fake. It looks artificial. And, you know, because it's a machine trying to make art, it is fake, and it is artificial, and it is staged. So it looks like exactly what it is. And because it looks like exactly what it is and not like the thing you had in your head, a real artist who knows what real things really look like looks at the machine art and they go, oh, that's from a machine, because the machine doesn't know what the fuck it's doing. But but if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't know what right looks like, you can't tell it's wrong. It's not in your visual library to be compared. So that's where a lot of garbage gets posted. A lot of machine art garbage gets posted, and people go, "Look at this great thing that I did," and everybody's like, "That's bullshit." And they're like, "You're just jealous." No, we're just better at this than you. We know what shit looks like because shit doesn't look like art. And that's kind of where I sit on that. I think the machine is going to get better, and I think that people are going to start figuring out how to train it. But it's very important to recognize that the machine's problem is that we're trying to make a machine that does everything. There's actually a really good sort of solution to this, which is the kind of the delegate model, where you have a neural network that is trained on how to do pictures of fruit, and you have a neural network that is trained on how to do pictures of people, and you have a neural net that's trained on how to do pictures of rooms. And if you want a person in a room with some fruit, then it will delegate the room to the neural network that does a good job of rooms, and the person to the neural network that does a good job with people, and the fruit to the neural network that does fruit. That works really well, and you can train a person network and a fruit network and a room network a lot faster and easier than you can train a network that does people, fruit, and rooms. That's far more difficult. And this is to address the problem of training data, which is that in order to get the amount of data necessary to properly train the machine, you need a massive quantity of input. You need so much input, it's ridiculous. And until we had millions of photographs on Instagram and Pinterest and various social media, until we had those millions of pictures, we just didn't have the training data to teach the machine how to make the stuff. Now we have enough to teach it how to make stuff kind of, sort of okay. But in order to make that stuff better, we're going to need like 10 times the data. And it took us almost 20 years to generate enough data on social media to train the machines. So if it took us 20 years to come up with this data, and we're going to need 10 times as much to train the machine effectively, even with the substantial growth that we're experiencing in social media and in the amount of content that people create for the internet, even with that, it'd be 7 to 10 years before we could take that next step. Okay? And on top of that, during that 7 to 10 years, we're going to have the additional problem of people fucking hate this machine. They really seriously hate it, and they're developing materials and filters and processes that will poison the data so the machine can't learn from it. And that's going to cause a whole lot of problems. You're going to need to find a way to identify that data, to identify those images that can't be used to train the machine, and you've got to weed them out. And that's going to make things so much more difficult. People keep saying the machine is currently the worst it will ever be. Yeah, but it's not going to get any better for a really long time. And it's not going to get much better when it does, because we are not improving the underlying technology of the machine that does the learning. It still works pretty much the same as it did in the 90s, which was not a huge difference from how it worked in the 60s. We're not improving the methods, and we're not solving the problems that are standing in the way of real artificial intelligence. We're not clearing the hurdles that we need to clear to get over those. And we're not improving the techniques that we use to generate the images, or to generate the text, or to generate the music. We're not improving the process at all. The only thing that we've done is lean on faster processors and better GPUs. And GPUs, it was back in the late 90s that we first started to get the 3D accelerator and the first sort of hint at the modern GPU with things like the Matrox MGA Millennium and the Canopus 3D. And then eventually that got bigger with the 3DFX Voodoo cards. And then as that moved forward and they got better and better and better, and NVIDIA kind of became the big name in that, their improvements in GPUs eventually got to a point that you could use GPUs to do complex mathematical calculations very, very easily. And that was fantastic for scientific computing. It was fantastic for artificial intelligence research. But we're just leaning on the improvement in the technology that we're using to run the same fucking bullshit. The machine's not smart. The machine's never been smart. The machine's never gonna be smart unless you change the way the machine works. And we haven't changed the way the machine works. The Turing test is really responsible for this. Ever since the Turing test became a household word, what's been going on is nobody's trying to make the machine actually smart. What they're trying to do is they're trying to make it trick people. And people are really easy to trick because people are fucking stupid. I mean, we could see that with these people like the Shad, what's his name, who's doing the Shadiversity right-wing buttfucker. And he does these terrible pictures of Supergirl and goes, look at this fantastic image that I made. That image is garbage. It's absolute fucking garbage. What's going on with it? What even is this anatomy? What is this pose? Where is the light coming from? What are these shadows? What are your wrinkles and drapery doing? What's wrong with her hair? There's all of this shit wrong with the picture, and he can't see it because he doesn't know what right looks like, so he can't tell that it's wrong. But we're not actually doing anything to fix the problem that the machine is learning how to do hair and wrinkles and drapery and lighting and anatomy wrong. What we're doing is we're shoring that up with patches. And we've got all of these little filters that run on it. It's like, here's the thing that generates the picture, but the picture always has fucked up hands because the machine doesn't learn how to do hands properly. So here's a special module that does nothing but hands. First you generate your picture, and then you go, now run the hand fixer on it. Now run the face fixer on it. Now run the hair fixer on it. Nobody's actually doing anything to make the machine generate good hands and faces and hair from the beginning. Nobody's fixing that. They're designing workarounds. They're designing filters that you run over it and you go, here's how to fix a fucked up hand, and here's how you fix a fucked up face, and here's how you fix fucked up hair. You need to teach the machine not to fuck it up. You can't make a new machine that fixes your fuck ups and then go, done. That's not how it works. And I just see more and more evidence that fewer and fewer people are actually interested in working hard and doing a good job. They just want to get the money. They don't care how they do it. They just want the billions of dollars in investment that's available for artificial intelligence research. They don't actually want their artificial intelligence to be better. They just want people to spend more money on it. They just want more investment. They want more venture capital. They want more investors. They want to sell more stock. They want the stock price to go up. They want to get grants. They want to get sponsorship. They don't actually want the system to be better. And that's so thoroughly wrong-headed. That's so completely bad and wrong and stupid. And that's why I keep going back to the Badass Manifesto concept. Okay, this whole thing is designed around work hard and do a good job. Because working hard and doing a good job will always produce good results. And people keep going, you're not going to make enough money working hard and doing a good job. It depends on what you mean by enough. Because being a lying sack of shit also isn't going to make you any money unless you are the right lying sack of shit to the right people at the right time. And there's a bunch of lying sacks of shit in the artificial intelligence community that are going, this is artificial intelligence. And it's not. It's fucking Markov chains. It's a very complicated Markov chain generator, but it's still just fucking Markov chains. It's not a big advance. It's just more context of the sentence that it's generating, but it doesn't have context from previous stuff, and that's the problem with hands on the whole machine art thing. Machine art fucks anatomy because it generates a leg in stages, and it generates things. It goes, okay, we're generating the hips. Here are the hips, and the hips have two legs coming off of them, and those two legs, each of those legs has a knee on it, and each of those knees has a lower leg coming off of it. But because the machine is processed in pieces, it doesn't remember whether it already put a leg coming off of that knee or not. It doesn't know. So sometimes you get two legs coming off of the knee, or even more. Sometimes you get none. Sometimes you get an accidental amputee. Because the machine goes, the knee is there, and looking at that knee, I feel like the leg should go off in this direction. Well, sometimes it's ambiguous. The leg could go off in two directions. And it has to decide which direction it's going to go in. And the way it decides is not by looking at which things it's already decided. It just decides in isolation. It goes, well, there's a 30% chance the leg goes off in this direction. Okay, yeah, it goes off in this direction. And then it's looking at a different part of the image and goes, there's a 12% chance that the leg is going off in this direction. Oh, well, yeah, it is going off in this direction. Now you got two fucking legs. And sometimes it goes, there's a 50% chance it goes this way. No, it doesn't. Well, there's a 50% chance it goes this way. No, it doesn't. And now you've got no fucking leg. Because the machine doesn't keep track of context. It's not paying attention. It's the same way it fucks up hands. It knows that a finger is supposed to go here and a finger is supposed to go there. You know, depending on the angle you're looking at the hand, the fingers could be pointing this way, the fingers could be pointing that way. If it loses track of which direction the fingers are pointing, it'll do 3 fingers pointing this way and 4 fingers pointing this way, and then it'll do like 6 fingers pointing off in other weird directions because it's confused as fuck and doesn't know what it's doing. And then we make these filters that go, okay, make sure there's only one leg coming off of the knee. Make sure there is a leg coming off the knee and there's not multiple legs coming off the knee. Let's make sure there are exactly 4 fingers and 1 thumb. Let's make sure that that the lighting is all coming from the same direction. You've got all of these individual filters, and making these individual filters that fix the fucking problem doesn't actually fix the problem. We've got these layers and layers and layers of fixes. It's just not productive. And I have great hope for machine art as a tool in the future. But 2 things need to happen for that machine art to be used as an effective tool. And the first thing is, we need to recognize what it does well and only use it for the thing it does well. And we also need to know how to operate the machine so it does the thing well in the first place. It's a collaboration between the machine and its operator. And you're going to have to work hard to learn how to operate the machine, and you're going to have to do a good job of telling the machine what it is you want it to do, partially by selecting stuff the machine is actually fucking good at. That's important. And I think it's going to make a good part of an art workflow in the future. But I also kind of sit here and go, is it worth learning to use the machine when you still have to intellectually understand all the same things about art to know whether the machine is doing a good job? Are you actually better off Are you better off learning how to type a prompt to the machine so it will generate the picture you want? Or learning to apply paint to paper or pixels to a display? Are you better off learning what to type or what to draw or what to paint or what to sculpt? And I think you're better off learning to paint and to draw and to sculpt. I don't think you're ever better off learning to type at the machine. I don't think that's ever a good productive use of your time. And I don't think it's going to be until the machine is a whole hell of a lot better. I don't hate the machine. The machine just sucks. That's the fact of the matter, you know? When I tell an artist that their work sucks, like when I tell myself, this piece of work that I just did, well, you know, this is not good enough. This piece of work sucks. It's not very good. I didn't do a very good job. I don't hate it. I don't hate the piece. I don't hate myself. I'm not going to quit. I'm not going, oh, I can't fucking paint. I can't fucking draw. That's not what's going on here. What's going on is I'm looking at this and I'm going, yeah, this is not what I wanted. This is not good enough. And that's the same thing I'm doing looking at the machine. I'm going, that's not what I want. That's not what I asked you for. It's like if I grab, let me go grab an example, because I have got a bunch of stuff that I've generated. I did this thing where I asked the machine to generate pictures of people in a grabilius. I just made up a word, grabilius. It can't figure out what a grabilius is. Like it thought this was a grabilius, this kind of weird cloak thing, and it thought this was a grabilius. this red horned goat mask thing. And it's very odd where it's like, is a grabilius a headdress? Is a grabilius a type of outfit? And put a creepy skull mask on this guy. And there's all kinds of there's all kinds of stuff that it did. And the thing that I found really fascinating about it is it almost invariably decided that a grabilius is something worn by black people. I don't know where it got this idea. And it certainly wasn't like ubiquitous. Like it would occasionally generate old people. And it would occasionally generate these weird Renaissance and medieval looking things. On a couple of occasions, it generated a woodcut. I don't know what it was thinking when it did that. Sometimes it got interracial on me. But what I was experimenting with here was I was just like, what if you specifically ask the machine to hallucinate? What happens with that? And what happens is it completely loses its fucking mind, and it can't work out what exactly it's supposed to do. But the thing that I was really kind of looking to share here, that I was really kind of looking to show you, was, where did it go? There's one particular image. It likes to randomly take people's clothes off, which is why I'm taking some time here, because there's a lot of titties in these pictures. Okay, this is a great example that I like to pull out. Now this girl right here, everything kind of sort of looks fine, except for the part where her fingers appear to be going directly into her chest. And the anatomy is very, very weird, like specifically around this area here. That is not what a leg looks like. If you look at kind of the muscle structure that it's putting into place here, that's not a proper musculature. Like, what is going on here? This isn't how people's legs look. And why does this girl have multiple kneecaps? What is going on here? There's another kneecap right here. This anatomy is just thoroughly fucked up. Okay? When you look at how it's decided the leg is constructed, it doesn't know what the fuck it's doing. Okay? And it's got all of these very weird constructs in the way that it's put this leg together. It doesn't make any sense. This is not how the human body is constructed. It's completely wrong. It's like right here. What the fuck is that? What is that muscle? That's not a real muscle that really occurs on a real human leg. This isn't how the human leg is constructed. This kneecap right here, that's not what a kneecap looks like. All of this is just completely wrong. But you have to know the anatomy to be able to see that. And if you don't know the anatomy, you can't look at that and go, oh, I see what's wrong. A lot of people will look at it and they'll go, well, wait a minute, that's not what that's supposed to look like. That's not how a leg is supposed to look. They just look at it, and if we go all the way back to, you know what, let's just go file revert. We just go all the way back. Also, what is going on with this little green light poking out from behind the knee? But if you just go all the way back to, if you just go all the way back to the beginning and you just go, here's the picture. What material is this outfit made of? Because the top part of it looks like it's made out of cloth, but the bottom part of it looks like it's made out of satin or silk or potentially some kind of rubberized PVC material. This part right here, this area is way too shiny, okay? And this part right here, well, this is shiny, but it's shiny in a different way. You can see here the contrast of these highlights is very different. And then when you come up here, don't even get me started on this shit. When you come up here, there's this one highlight over here, but there are no stark, contrasty highlights on the top. This outfit is made out of 2 different materials at least, probably 3. And that makes no sense. The machine makes these weird decisions. Like, here's your bicep. What's this? We have some semblance of the deltoid right here. And we've got the 3 different paths of the deltoid. This right here, that's not how that works. They haven't decided. Here, they've got the pectoralis muscle disappearing into the deltoid, and here they've got the deltoid going over the pectoralis muscle. They need to pick one or the other. The deltoid should go in front, but if the arm is rotated a little bit more, that can put the pec more in front of the deltoid. But you have to draw it properly. And over here, this isn't bad, okay? You've got your 2 major muscle masses right here, and you've got your little tendons right there. I don't know what these little bits are right here. But this muscle right here, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense at all. This is not how the human arm works. You can't turn the palm in this direction and the forearm in this direction and see the tricep. So what is that? It can't be the actual tricep. It's got to be something else. It's some weird muscle that the AI hallucinated. And it does shit like this all the time. The machine doesn't know how the human body is constructed. And because it doesn't know how the human body is constructed, it fucks it up all over the place, all the time. And that's before we even get to what the hell is going on with this hand in here, because seriously, what the fuck? What is going on with that? And this is the kind of stuff that we're working with. using these machine-generated artworks. And this is everything about this is wrong. Her eyes are different constructions. These eyes don't belong to the same person. And when you look at the nose, here's another bit right here. Here's the highlight on the side of the nose, okay? But if the highlight on the side of the nose is there, why is the highlight on the leg here? Why are the highlights on the leg on this side, while the highlights on the arm are on this side? The highlight on this arm is over here. Is the light coming from over here? Is the light coming from over here? Is the light coming from over here? We don't have a clear picture of what's going on. What is happening with this highlight here? The machine doesn't know what the fuck it's doing. It doesn't have a coherent image of where things go or why. And if you don't know where things go and why, you don't know the machine fucked it up. You just look at that and go, well, that's better than I could do. And, well, maybe that's true. But it's still garbage. You still ought to know better than this. Here's another fun one, okay? Look at the shadow of her face falling on her shoulder, and look at the shadow of her knees falling in the opposite direction. Meanwhile, the shadow of her dress is falling this way. That makes sense. That doesn't. The shadow should be over here. The shadow should be falling on this part of her chest, and not on this part. That's not where it belongs. And that's a complete mess. It's a mess everywhere. If this is highlighted, the light's coming from up here. If this is highlighted, the light's coming from over here. If you don't know how light works, and I only have the most rudimentary understanding of it in the first place, then you're not going to notice that. You're not going to know that everything is fucked up in this. But the more you study and the more you learn about how this stuff works, the more you can look at these machine-generated pieces and go, that's all fucked up. And it's fucked up in a way that no human being would fuck things up, you know? I've literally been ranting this entire time about machine art and not doing anything remotely approximating art. Now that's it's important to know what you're doing. It's important to understand the basics. It's important to understand the fundamentals. I need to do more studies. I need to do more limited, basic exercises to study specific aspects of my artistic ability. But I got so much work to do. There's just so much shit going on, and there's such a heavy workload this time of year that I don't know when I'm going to be able to get to that. I don't know when I'm going to be able to focus on it. And anyway, that's kind of that's sort of where we are, and that's what's going on. And I don't know, do the little YouTube dance, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notify bell, all of that happy horse shit. And okay, bye.